Hello and welcome to the Temple of New Wheat portal, Temple of New Wheat study group portal. This certainly is feeling like a portal at the moment. My name is Evan Wildheart, and I am recording this on the 18th of August 2024. First of all, a shout out to those who have been coming up to me in shops and streets and up to people in my own personal community who've been talking about the Temple of Nuit reports. A big shout out to all of you. Thank you for your feedback. It's been quite a wild ride, and I just wanted to also apologize to those who have been following us for some time and who missed the Leo new moon reading, which was due on the 4th of August. We didn't quite get there. So many technical issues, so many things going on. It just didn't happen. But we come back with full gusto with the launch of our very exciting Patreon page. If you're wanting a deeper dive and a deeper connection into the Temple of New Wheat study group, if you head over to the Patreon, the Temple of New Wheat study group. It's just called Patreon, the Temple of New Wheat. There you can find exclusive membership tiers. Remembering when you look at it, it's all in US dollars. So make sure you adjust it to Australian dollars if you're listening to this in Australia. It's very, very exciting progression. And I am looking forward to opening this Temple of New Wheat study group out to more people and making it more accessible, and to keep learning off each other, keep learning, what does it look like when we come together with the intention of galactic citizenship, knowing what's above is below, is within is without, and we get to see the mirrors of each other's charts and how that works, and then how it works within our own chart, and knowing that we're all a reflection of each other, including the cosmos and including the earth. We are all one. So if you want to know more, head over to the Patreon, the Temple of New Wheat. I can quickly show you what it looks like, actually, so you can jump on to help launch the Temple of New Wheat. I'm very excited to be launching a special exclusive reading that was taken from the monthly circle that we have on the Temple of New Wheat study group. So I'll be sharing that publicly so you can get a bit of a feel for what it looks like. And here we go. This is what the page looks like. The Temple of New Wheat astrological study group. You can see the 3 tiers: stargazers, celestial seekers, and galactic activators. There will be discounts and special membership offerings, all sorts of things. I'm very excited to watch this grow and develop, and to share each other's wisdom of what galactic citizenship looks like in the real life, in the tangible chop wood, carry water embodiment of the stars. So that is the Temple of New Wheat astrological study group Patreon page. Very friggin' exciting to launch that. So stay tuned, watch out for that on YouTube. I'll be putting notification up on Instagram probably about that launch. So stay very, very exciting. So that's what we've been working on in the background. But if you go on to YouTube, you will see the August Temple of New Wheat study group exclusive monthly circle that we run. So just an example of that. And you can get to see what has been happening in the stars for this month. It's been quite insane. So without further ado, let's go to the chart for this full moon. So this full moon is in Australian Eastern Standard Time chart. So time. So if you see here, the full moon, Aquarius full moon, is happening on Tuesday morning, really early at 4:26 a.m. Eastern Australian Standard Time on the 20th of August 2024. It is happening in Aquarius, this fixed air, this sign of this futuristic, this rebellion, freedom breaking through. Also technology. It's all about, it's thought processes, but it's more than that. Fixed air represented by the water bearer, but it's not the water. So it can get confusing with Aquarius. It's not a water sign. It's represented by the water bearer, but it's the air in the vessel that pushes the water out, the invisible space that we can't see with our human eye. So it makes me think there's so much going on behind the scenes that is being fully illuminated here at this full moon. And boy, we're really, I think, starting to see that. Recording this on the Sunday, there is all sorts of news and things coming out. Aquarius is it's a transpersonal sign, it's a collective sign. So it's something from outside of us, but it's connected to all of us. So, and thinking of the field, the cosmic, the quantum field that we see evidence of, and there's so much research now, even though there's so many people who don't dismiss the quantum physics theories, but that's Aquarius. It's all about science and technology, and can we believe it, can we not? Because we've been programmed to believe what we see, which is, it's a program. It's another program to keep us small. But at this Aquarius full moon, we're busting through, we're breaking through. It's future, so it's about what is coming and leaving behind what is old. So there is so much to talk about here. Just quickly, Aquarius is also ruled by the nervous system. And I think that's a clue to what we need to attend to at this full moon is our personal nervous system in our bodies. Again, you think of the nervous system, it's electronic currents running through our brains down. It's not like blood that we can see, but it's electronic pulsations that we can monitor, but we can't see them happening unless we have special technology. Aquarius technology. So this full moon is happening at 27 degrees of Aquarius. So very, very last couple of degrees of Aquarius, which, it's like this mastership of this, or eldership, that is coming. It's ruled by Aquarius and Uranus. And it's really interesting at the moment, if you were to look through the telescope at Saturn from an Earth's perspective, Saturn's rings are disappearing. So energetically, to me, that feels like the boundaries that Saturn once held are disappearing. And now this is a cyclical event that happens every 13 to 16 years when Saturn is in Pisces or Virgo in this axis here, which is really interesting with Saturn in Pisces. It's the dissolving. And from an Earth perspective, just the way that Saturn is tilt and how the light from the sun hits Saturn, the rings disappear. So for Earth, this feels like energetically, it's like all of a sudden what was holding us bounded, Saturn, is now breaking through and free to the outer planets. And the next planet in line from Saturn is, of course, Uranus. Uranus is the sudden changes. It's the freedom breaker, break through, break free. It's liberation. And yeah, it's so many angles you can think of liberation. It's, a liberation from an old paradigm, from something old. Don't be surprised under this full moon, and I'm sure you're already seeing it, that there is stuff that is being called for you to let go of. Some big stuff, potentially. And from, just the other day, it was on Thursday, I think it was, this Friday just gone, it was such a big news day, and I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention to what was happening on the collective scale, but personally, and I know a lot of people personally, who had this personal big news story, whether someone close to them had, was suddenly ill, or people making big decisions and having to let go of big things related to their personal lives. So it's really, yeah, it's yeah, it just feels the enormity of what this full moon brings. So this full moon is reflecting the sun in sun in Leo. So Leo is beaming out here its rays, and we can see the full illumination of the moon because of where the sun is. And the sun, it's in its home sign in Leo. It's where it's shining. It's robust. It's fixed fire. It's burning brightly and shining out there. But it's really interesting because it's having a cazimi with Mercury here. Mercury is in retrograde and it's going backwards. So Mercury, the messenger, is having this moment with the sun where it's being consumed by the sun. And Mercury here in a retrograde and in the beams of the sun, it feels like everything that's mercurial, it's like there's been an open to the underworld element, and messages are coming through from that place, remembering that Mercury is the messenger who would take souls to the underworld and bring souls back into a new human format, or into an earth body. So with Mercury disappearing in the beams of the sun, it feels like whatever Mercury, all the niceties of Mercury, or that sort of thought processes of how do we do this eloquently, how do we hold ourselves in a way that is polite, communication that is tampered, or maybe when Mercury is, what am I trying to say here? It feels like Mercury is being muffled, and it is really opening up the gates to the underworld. It's yeah, it's hard to describe it. What I'm feeling is, as Mercury disappears, like the guardian or the messenger of the underworld can no longer take the messages back and forth, and the underworld is just open. And for whatever was being held back, it's all coming out now. So really interesting, where this full moon is actually in the same sign, or co-presence or co-sign presence with Pluto here, who is the underworld, and on the journey through to becoming full in the 24 hours, 48 hours in the lead up to this full moon, the moon actually passes through Pluto and gives it a bit of a high five, and brings along with it, I think, exactly what I just spoke about, is this open gates of, oh, now we need to deal with whatever we've been bearing behind us, whatever the gates have been open to the underworld for us to receive the messengers of what needs to happen next. And it doesn't feel like a small thing. It feels so, oh, my heart is just open, and just feeling the enormity of the unfoldings of what, gates have been opened up, and unseen gates too, things we can't quite make sense of. And but that's Aquarius. There's something breaking through to break free, whatever that is, stuff that's been stuffed down. And also knowing that Pluto is about to move retrograde, regress, so it's already been here, back into Capricorn for its final showdown. And I'm certainly feel that feels really, really big. So whatever Pluto was doing in Capricorn since the end of 2008, up until now, we're coming back to that and having this final mastery point, or what does Pluto need to do, the final demolition. And there's things that really need to go, things that have held us back and kept us small. And this is a part of seeing this full moon. If we would come back and have a look at it in a time scale, this is not just an Aquarius full moon here and now. This is something that's been unfolding already and will continue to unfold into next year, into years to come. So it's not just now. So whatever is happening now has, it feels like a greater picture of things. And just also thinking of that Aquarius, futuristic. This is for the future, has future ramifications of what is unfolding now, and permanent ones too. With a Pluto here, it's a permanent dealings. And why I also say this is that this full moon, you can have a look here, is making a square aspect, a direct, almost so close, like 27 degrees and 15 minutes and 27 degrees and 11 minutes to Uranus. Uranus here, who just had a conjunction a few weeks ago with Aries, Mars here with Algol, which is a fixed star. Algol is like, she's Medusa, she's the dark feminine, she wants blood, she's and often connected to violence and accidents. And when we had that Mars and Uranus conjunction, look what was happening in America. Like, all hell was breaking loose with an attempted assassination on Trump. So, it's like the head. So you think of Medusa's head and all the snakes, but Medusa, she also, it was such a horrific story all tied up to her. But also, she is a powerful, dark, feminine figure. She is her head's on the shield of Athena, who is the warrioress, the battle, going into battle. So there's something here about that as well. And, the good thing is about, reading charts and astrology is that we can look at, to what we're being shown, the energies, and then we can choose how to navigate that or what perspective we want to take. And we could take a real galactic perspective on this, or we can come down to a real earth level in our bodies and feel what that feels like in the more density realm. So it's really interesting when these big transits come up that we will probably experience both, but where you bring your lens at these big times is, I feel, beneficial to keep that galactic perspective, even though we're feeling it here, and to process here and then to come back out again, the process here and then come back out again. Uranus is the planet of change, sudden change, breakthrough. So you've got this square. This is a 90-degree angle, and I'm just going to clear these pictures here. So a 90-degree angle between Uranus and the moon and the sun. Like, this is like a T square, this fixed T square with Taurus, fixed earth, fixed air, fixed fire. So for those who have fixed planets or points in your chart that are predominant, you'll be really feeling this. This is really strong when you've got a 90-degree angle. This is like two energies coming together and creating a tension point. But something breaks through here to move into, potentially a different direction. So, but there needs to be the tension here for stuff to really shift and move. And it often, it's uncomfortable. It's like, it's frustrating because it's a tension. But if we sit with the tension and we see it as a growth opportunity, we have something really beautiful here to create something new, or to break through, to break free for a new journey. This full moon is shifting us in the ways that are so profound to create something new. But how do we get there is, who knows? It's not comfortable. It's hard. It can be, it's looking at things that we don't really probably want to look at. So, but Uranus is here. Uranus is the planet of revolution. It's a higher octave of Mercury. And what do we say? Mercury has disappeared under the beams of the sun here in retrograde. So it feels like Uranus here, and it's in the full moon is happening in a Uranus ruled sign. Uranus is so strong here. It's really calling us to change, to break through, but sudden changes too, unexpected news, unexpected developments. Something we're just like, whoa, what was that? And not really see things coming. but this is the part of this thing that we need to move forward on. Letting go of the old, making way for the new, no matter how harrowing it is. There's things that are happening that are changing the future forever. Um, so that in itself is a big transit. Full moon, full illumination of a fixed sign with Uranus, square Uranus, almost exact, like 27 degrees and 11 minutes. Uranus in Taurus, the moon and the sun, 27 degrees and 15 minutes. Like that's 2 minutes off. That is almost like a perfected square happening there. So very, very strong Uranian energies that are unfolding here. Okay. But that's not all to this story. Not all to this story. In the lead up to this full moon, we had a Mars and Jupiter conjunction here happening in Gemini, which is also a Mercury ruled sign. So with all these lots of mercurial energies that are playing here, it really feels like just these stories, storylines, timelines, mythologies. What story are we choosing? What, yeah, our story's changing forever. Yeah, there's something here strongly about the stories and our thought patterns and our communication, and things are shifting and changing, as we said, but there's certainly a strong mercurial energy that is playing. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, it's furthest away, like it's so far away from its home sign, Jupiter, and Pisces here. So it's like Jupiter, who's all about expansion and take the higher perspective and truth telling, is in its having a little underworld journey as well. It's like it's not it's having a different experience to what it would normally have. So it feels like this Jupiter is having a moment to sit with the expansion, maybe not expanding as the way it would normally, but it's doing something else, something maybe hidden, or it's like it's on a vision quest. Now I heard that on the Astrology Hub August forecast. A shout out to the Astrology Hub. I love the Astrology Hub, and talking about when a planet is the furthest away from the sign that it's home to, it's like it's on a vision quest. So it's sitting there, it's not able to do much, but it's doing its work in a way that is maybe hidden or unseen. So, and with Mars here, Mars, it's the planet of fast movement, especially, Gemini is all about fast movement. It's moving here, it's mutable air. So it's here, there, it's everywhere. And in Mars, it's like it's shooting off all over the place, with Jupiter here as well. And this expansion of Mars sort of in this, energy that things can happen unexpected and quite dramatically. Mars is, it's shooting off its arrow, but in Gemini, it's like which way the arrow is going to land, we really don't know. So that is happening at the moment. But probably the big news of what is unfolding right after this full moon, in a few hours later, actually, is this. Whether you can, I'm just drawing it in here, the great Saturn and Jupiter square. So lots of square, high tension action. That is this two energies coming together to form a tension point for something just to crack through and break through, to create something differently. And I'm thinking of squares, they're 90-degree angles. It's equivalent to like a first quarter moon, or it's, in thinking of the sabbats, if you were to do this on a sabbat wheel, the quarters are, it would be like the summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, autumn equinox. And these points of change, of tension, it's no longer this, but it's not quite that either. So, here in the Southern Hemisphere, we've just passed Imbolc, but we're moving towards spring equinox, which is a square sort of, Sabbath. It's winter is not here. We're thinking about what we need to do for the spring to create something new, but the spring is, it's here, but it's not fully here. So it's like that, you know, that moment of what do we need to organize, what do we need to plan, um, what do we need to plant? What don't we like seeing? Lots of weeds are coming up potentially. What do we need to pull out to create change to make way for something new? So it's that energy of, yeah, there's things to be done. It's action, it's movement, it's let's go, let's go, let's go. There's things needs to happen. And with, as we said, Uranus here making a square to the full moon, that's sudden actions, sudden changes, things getting going. So this square here, this 90-degree angle between Saturn here at 17 degrees and 28 minutes and Jupiter 17 degrees and 26 minutes. So this square comes into exact at, and I'm just quickly looking at it, at 6:31 a.m. So a couple of hours, like almost exact 2 hours later after this full moon. This is an opening square from when Saturn and Jupiter first met in this cycle at 0 degrees Aquarius, which is where Pluto is right now. That this signifies with the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction here, which happened at summer solstice here in the Southern Hemisphere. So December the 21st, 2020. So think about that. Think about what was happening for you on 21st of December, which was summer solstice here in the Southern Hemisphere in 2020. What was happening in the world? What was happening for you personally? This is the first time we get to see the results of that. And it's, and the energies from that, coming from that, and something has to change now from whatever happened then. And it's really interesting. This marked the first transit, this 2020 transit, when Jupiter and Saturn first met in this cycle, which began every time they meet now for the next, I can't remember how many years, like it's a big cycle. It will all be in air signs. So that signified the first, but it's really interesting that Pluto is here as well. So signifying there's a link back here to the change, the Pluto, the underworld as well. So Saturn, boundaries, eldership, whole like lessons, like responsibility, life lessons to be learned for us to grow into eldership. Saturn is it's when you make friends with Saturn, you're making friends with meeting challenges for your growth. In Pisces, it's unbounded. There's something here about Saturn unbounded. And as we mentioned before, Saturn's rings are disappearing from the Earth's perspective. Saturn, it's in retrograde. So it's trying to, have a stronghold, but it's there's something here about Saturn in retrograde in unbounded Pisces that's not comfortable here. It's, what is Saturn in Pisces? It's unbounded energy, unbounded time, having this tension moment with Jupiter, who's in Gemini, but Jupiter is in, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion and truth, and it's usually a really beneficial planet to really ride, but here it's up against Saturn, who's trying to who's going, we need to listen here, we need to do something different. It's like this tension. Jupiter, it feels like Jupiter, what Jupiter is here showing us, in Mercury ruled Gemini, is like expansion of the stories, expansion of it feels like this, and I've just gone into blank. I'm just feeling this Jupiter in Pisces. I mean, Jupiter in Gemini, who's wanting to expand, but it's like being tensioned by Jupiter, Saturn, that is trying to create trying really hard to create boundaries, but it's not really happening. And with this square with Uranus, with this full moon, it feels super chaotic energy. And I'm thinking this is what I'm feeling. I can't quite get my words out because of these tensions. And with Uranus and the full illumination of the full moon in a Aquarius and Saturn ruled sign of the moon, and then you got Saturn in unbounded, Pisces with its rings disappearing, having a tension 90 degrees reaction to Jupiter, who's trying to expand but can't because it's so far away from home. It just has to sit and be with it. It really feels like, wow, whatever's coming up right now, it feels like that need to really needing to sit in it and to see it and to experience it. Jupiter, I mean, Gemini, it's everyday air, it's mutable air, it's moving here and there, it's like everyday tasks and things and communication. But we still have to do all our everyday things, but there are big things happening. Yeah, with this two big squares, it yeah, just there's a lot of chaotic energy unfolding. And if you're listening to this and this is your experience, I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, it feels very chaotic, very, very chaotic. And not only that, if we come down here to Virgo is mutable earth, we have Venus at 18 degrees. So it is in this. So this is actually a mutable T square. So there's a 90-degree angle here between Jupiter and Venus opposite Saturn. And also, as we said, the Saturn and Jupiter square. So there is so much tension here in this chart at this full moon that is really calling us to sit with everything that is happening and to be with it, but to, and then, as we know, to trust the unfolding, which when they're big things is hard to do. So we've been really called to dig deep here and to come out Aquarius into the galactics, Pisces, into the whole field of everything, and to see this as a part of what really needs to fall, what really needs to let go for something new to come in. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a very chaotic full moon. So my advice for you is to just come back to your physical body, come back to the basics. Now, are you eating right? Are you sleeping enough? Are you spending time out with a favorite tree, or you're lying on the grass? These are the ways that we can come back to and create a sense of, I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I'm here. I'm being called to trust whatever I've been called to let go of here. It is the part of the grand scale of things, knowing that this is all cyclical. This is happening anyway, whether we like it or not. And, for the year that we've had already, this feels like this moment of really, have we been listening? Have we been listening? Have we been practicing the things that we need to practice? And if we haven't, we probably will be feeling this more, but it's never too late to come back. Never too late to lie on the grass. Never too late to actually go, you know what? I'm not going to go to work today, regardless of what my patriarchal programming is telling me to do. I'm just going to lie on the grass, and that's totally okay. Given the astrology, given what's happening in the world, there's things are crumbling, there's senses, nothing seems stable. And especially with this Pluto involved, this Uranus involved here, that's in fixed earth. Uranus is ground shaking, it's earthquakes, it's shifting things. That's its job, but also to trust that, because it's happening anyway, to trust that anyway. And how do we navigate that, knowing that it was all preordained in the stars, you know, forever? This was meant to happen, always meant to happen at this time. And can we trust the universal plan? Can we trust the cosmic plan of what's unfolding here at this time, that this chaotic energy was meant to happen? A part of this chart, this chaotic energy, I'm really sensing Pluto going back in the Capricorn for this last time. It feels like decisions and events are happening now for us to be able to come back and say, right, this is it. What are we taking with us into a new paradigm? Because, and as we've said, those who follow astrology and those who watch the Temple of Nuit readings, we speak of this, how next year, all the outer planets will be moving to 0 degrees, 0 degrees of, Aries, Saturn, and Neptune. Uranus will be moving 0 degrees in Gemini this time next year. Jupiter will be moving to 0 degrees of Cancer. Pluto will be moving to 0 degrees back to Capricorn, Aquarius to where it is now. So this feels like a big story unfolding, but right now it's like we're getting to the nuts and bolts, or the final things that it's time to let go, and what aren't we taking with us, and what is really important. And there's some tragic stories that are unfolding at the moment, and if you're involved in these tragic stories, or you're sort of watching them from afar, what's the lesson here in these stories? Gemini, Mercury, Uranus, what are the lessons here that we need to, part of what we're packing to go on into the next portal of what we're being called to? For me personally, there's some very sad, tragic things unfolding, not necessarily for me directly, although you never know what will happen, Uranus suddenly, but around me, I'm watching this, and, people who are really sick, and people who have tragic accidents that completely change their lives forever. So what is that showing us? What do we need to come back to? What's the most important things in your life? Whether it's children or friends or community, if you were to strip everything bare, thinking also, this Mercury in, having this cazimi with the sun, it's disappeared, which is allowing Pluto to show, underworld, to get into the underworld, to get into Yarishkagal's throne room, the dark goddess throne room, you need to enter naked and bowed low. But what are you holding in your heart? What's the precious things that you are holding, that you're taking with you in this great transformation to be rebirthed? Because we're going anyway. But what are the precious things? What are the core values and beliefs that we're being called to come back to and to bring up into full illumination, to take with us as we journey this? And if you were to really come back to it, the core things, for most people would be family, or loved ones, connection, community, and nourishing food. And how do we do that? We come together. Aquarius, collective energy, group energy, coming together and to say, okay, what is going on here? How can we support each other? What do we need so we are thriving here, regardless of what is happening out there? What do we need to come back to? It's big times, my friends. It's big times. And I feel this call to make simple prayers of connection and thriving and love. come back to these basics. Come back to these basics that we can hold on to in our hearts. So we will get through this. This too will shift and change. The cycles go on as they do, as much as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Daylight, moonlight. The peak of summer solstice will come, and the deep winter of winter solstice will come as well. We're in a cyclical journey. So to know that this will change, to know this will shift, but how is it going to, what seeds are you collecting with you, the core values, the core experiences that you're taking with you into a new cycle? This is it. I feel like this is it. Right? We're coming down to that bit in the story where everything changes. But how a cycle ends is how the new one begins. And how are we beginning the new cycle? Are we coming in with it with disconnect and anger and resentment, or are we coming in with love and connection and dare I say forgiveness? Because in the end, it's up to us personally. If something has happened to us in the past that was awful, us holding on to that pain is not going to make that person suffer. We're the only ones that suffer when we hold on to pains and hurts. And this really feels like what is happening now. Can we let go of this and send it on its way, and coming back to turning our focus and attention to the ones that we love, come back and focus our attention to, the earth that holds us, who loves us unconditionally. I mean, God, look what she puts up with. Coming back to that. The one final thing that we'll put out here, and thank you for listening for this time, but here, there's a sextile energy here. And then, and also sextile, sorry, let's talk about the sextile. This 60-degree angle between Neptune at the final degrees of Pisces in its home sign, the planet of dissolving and, dreaming and the void and depth of the unknown, making this sextile, which is, something beginning, something new energy, with Uranus here at 27 degrees of Taurus, dreaming something new in here, Earth, dreaming new Earth here, dreaming something different, something changing. How do you want that dreaming to change? Because when it's in the void space, we're in the void, we are open to the whole cosmos of the field of possibilities. What are we dreaming here? And this here, this is a 160 degree. This is a trine energy between the sun and Chiron. Even though it's like an opening trine, it's still there. It's still present. So these stories of the wounded healer with the sun shining its full illumination on it, warming the stories of the past, looking at from a different angle, being the healer of the stories for the future, to something to come in. But we have to revise them first before that happens. There is so much here. I didn't even talk very much about the Saturn and Jupiter square either. There's one of three, but you can go to, we talk about this on the Patreon Sky. the Patreon. Oh my God. The Sentient Sky podcast. In episode 2, we go deep into Jupiter's transits and we speak of the 3 opening squares of Saturn and Jupiter. So this is the first of 3. The next one is at Christmas Day here in the Australian Eastern Standard Time. And the next one is in late May at 0 degrees Aries and 0 degrees of Cancer. So that's another sign of this is a changing, this is a bigger story than here and now. But how do we navigate this full moon right now is to come back to, to the basics of love and connection and community. That's what I'm feeling. Oh, that's really big and chaotic and lots of things happening. So yeah, look, we're all in it. We're all going through it. And it's all about just how do we hold ourselves and our loved ones as we navigate these wild, wild times, knowing it was all meant to be in the first place. It's all cyclical. It's all preordained. And, look at the wonders and the mysteries of this life here on this earth. That's all I've got to say. So much love. Jump onto the Temple of Nuit Patreon. Have a look around to see. Yeah, come and join us. It's a very powerful group. We have monthly circles, and if you go up to the higher tiers, you become a part of our community discussion groups, which is epic and fun and very informative. And yeah, it's so, so good. So if you want to know more, I'll put the link in the show notes for this, and sending you so much love under this epic Aquarius full moon. Chaotic energy, but what storyline are you choosing? All right. Take care. Much love. Bye for now.